Yeah.
I love my HBCU, and boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU, and man, I hope my team they won one.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won one.
Yeah, man.
I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Lab, as they say, with one mic. I got my little banner on here with my producer in the back, G Boom Holly, as he's also referred to. But we'll see if we can get AD Drew to jump in here with us. But at that point, we're going to try to give you the show as we always do at 6 o'clock. Mike Washington, Charles Bishop on assignment. Charles is literally traveling back after pulling double duty. You saw what's over there at the SWAC Media Day, Charles and I. Charles was pulling in big time as he was doing SWAC TV. We were putting it together on BCSN, but let me do it appropriately. Dr. Ville's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So let me say welcome to episode 837 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As I said, both of them on assignment. Drew was planning to come in, so I'm not sure what's going on then, but so we might be able to see and get him in, and we'll let you know how that goes and see how long we want to provide you some updates. We do have quite a bit to talk about, to see what's going on. We'll see what direction that takes us. But we are filming from our home studios. In case of me, I'm in the hotel. I am in Atlanta after doing the duties of covering the cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff presented by Toyota. Significant event. When we talk about what was going on there, you see head coach from Alabama A&M, as well as the head coach for Howard University. Well-spoken event, a lot of respect. Didn't realize that the coaches knew each other from their days, essentially from the NFL, and Ted White doing camps back up there in his home school, Howard, and really in Washington, D.C., in terms of what he did there. So that was really big to see what was going on in terms of what that looks like. So Sam Shade was there representing Alabama A&M. The Howard alumni out of Atlanta came in and represented, had some Bulldogs there, but I guess so many of the Bulldogs out of Atlanta were working, couldn't get it off work. But all the dignitaries were there. Good to see the ADs putting in a lot of work, supporting their programs. I believe whoever comes out of this game with a win is going to be the team that provides probably the most surprise during their conference race. I'm not necessarily saying these two teams will be the representative of the conference in terms of making a serious chase at a championship. But I think these two teams will go a long way in determining the championship in terms of what they get done. So that was good. Had my dude Polos together here with the MEAC SWAC on one sleeve. CIAA and SIC on the other sleeve in terms of what's going on there. So that was interesting. I want to go back a little bit last week as we did our show from Birmingham, Alabama, the day before the SWAC Media Day. So in that case, really focused our show on what was going to be happening that next day. So I wanted to go back and talk a little about some HBCU news of the day with Southern's Ratcliffe, who earned HBCU Swingman's Classic MVP after a journey of faith and perseverance. Had a really big showcase and a lot of good showing there. Southern University's Jacob Ratcliffe left the HBCU Swingman Classic with two lasting reminders of one unforgettable night in a dirt-stained navy blue jersey and a star-shaped MVP trophy. Can't beat that. Both represented far more than his starring role in the American League's 6-1 victory over the National League before an energetic crowd of more than 16,000 Friday at Citizens Bank Park, where HBCU culture, community connection, and celebration came together in a memorable showcase. They symbolized the faith, perseverance, and carried him through one of the rockiest journeys of his baseball career. The dirt on his uniform reflected on aggressive night of baseball past, trophy recognizable performance years in the making after a season filled with doubt, setbacks, and unwavering. Stealing a couple of bases in that matchup, scoring a run, but he was quoted as saying, "At one point, I wouldn't say I lost my faith, but I was questioning," end quote, Ratcliffe said. "I was like, is God really here with me? Is he helping me? Is he walking with me step by step? Then I saw my life change after my junior year. It was always him. I'm telling my younger self to keep the faith and keep working hard," end quote. Boy, you talking about a statement by Ratcliffe there. Ratcliffe was wasted a little time about making his mark. Chicago native born of Christmas Eve, Ratcliffe has embraced every step of the journey that brought him to the stage after participating in last year's Swingman Classic in Atlanta. He entered his senior season as one of the Southwestern Athletic Conference top professional prospects, expectations weighing on him early in the season, but he responded by hitting .283 with 8 doubles, 4 home runs, and 4 triples. Quote, "My journey was rocky," Ratcliffe said. "I was a late bloomer. I have a long lineage of baseball in my family, and growing up, it was like I couldn't get it right. My brothers were just far superior to me. When I got to high school, my junior year, I started to break out. My freshman year, I played, but not as much. Then my sophomore year, I lost my starting spot. I just never gave up. I prayed every day. I always talked to my parents and my brothers, and they always uplifted me," end quote. Ratcliffe's MVP performance carried extra meaning because his manager was Southern alumnus Ricky Weeks, who played for legendary Jaguars coach Roger Kadar, who we know transitioned this last week, who transformed from Southern, one of the nation's most premier HBCU baseball classic in that condition. So just providing that updates. Check him out with his trophy. Big news there in terms of what took place with him. I was excited to do that. A little more news we got here. I will plan to be, or scheduled to be, in Baltimore next Tuesday. That's for the MEAC Media Day in terms of what that looks like. So the MEAC has announced the student athletes scheduled to attend 2026 MEAC Football Media Day set for Tuesday, July 21st, M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. The annual event will feature the head coaches and 2 student athletes from each of the MEAC 6 football playing institutions. Those that have followed the Media Day understand what that looks like. But in addition, Media Day will air live on ESPN Plus with the coverage hosted by Pivot, the acclaimed sports podcast featuring former NFL standouts Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor, with their most notable show, The Pivot. Below are the students that we can expect at the event this year. Delaware State, Dow, offensive lineman. Wayne Favors III, the defensive back out of Delaware State. Howard, Eaton James, running back. Kendrick Green, defensive back for the Howard Bison. And then we have Morgan State's Randall Nodden, running back there. And Ontario Maddox, linebacker. We have Norfolk State's Reggie Johnson, the quarterback Stephen Hall, safety, North Carolina Central, Chance Peterson, the wide receiver, Zarin Walters, defensive lineman, South Carolina State, James Reddick, the second offensive lineman, Jordan Franklin, the linebacker, there in terms of the mix, getting it done. Those are the folks that you can expect coming in for the MEAC. MEAC announced live broadcast of the Pivot, as we said, from 2026 Football Media Day. The MEAC announced Tuesday that the Pivot, the acclaimed podcast hosted by former NFL standouts Ryan Clark, Shannon Crowder, Fred Taylor, will broadcast live from 2026 MEAC Football Media Day on Tuesday, July 21st at 12 p.m. on ESPN+. The live broadcast will be part of the annual meeting in terms of what goes on there in MAT Bank Stadium in Baltimore. They'll be back there for the second year in a row. Was able to see it last year and went pretty well. And so I'm fascinated with what that looks like. Looks like we have AD Drew that's joined us, getting him ready. And shout out, I think he's probably overworked, a little bit tired there. So probably needed a little extra drink of water. But we can bring him on in as we get his thoughts on some news of the day. I talked about you back a little bit. I wanted to make sure I gave a little shout out for Southern Ratcliffe that was named MVP. And then I just talked about the players that will be representative for the MEAC Football Media Day, as well as the Pivot being the host. And they're going to compartmentalize it, much like you seen last year, as they did. Well done. But how are you doing today, Drew?
Obviously, I didn't realize that I was tired because I just woke up and like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be on the show.
Yes, I get it. It certainly happens. See,
Yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
put my flag up here and make sure people can see that a little bit because I'm proud of my flag microphone as I was putting it in everybody's face today and yesterday. And you got it on. What news of the day? What's on your mind? What stands out to you in terms of the media framework? Probably in the second segment, we'll go in a little bit about your thoughts of media day yesterday and then getting into the press conference today. A lot of good stuff going on. Obviously, we have in the mix CIAA, big news there. We'll get into terms. We've heard that they were going to rearrange the schedule in such a way to look at third and fourth place, kind of like what we've seen in the SIAC. It's fascinating there when you talk about new playoff paths. We'll talk about some specifics they provided, and then we'll move it from there. But let me go to you, Drew. Before I do that, what are your thoughts?
Well, actually, that was what I was going to go with for my news of the day. So, did you want to go right there, or do you want to hold to after the first?
No,
break?
go ahead. Go with it.
Well, basically, a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was Steve Gaither originally broke the story that the CIAA was going to add a game between the third and the fourth place teams. Well, yesterday we got a little bit more of the details because everybody was trying to figure out where they was going to hold this game, what day they were going to do it. So now it looks like we'll be doing both Friday and Saturday and in Durham for the CIAA game, a third place game, a consolation game. But it's more than a consolation game, Dr. Cavil. It is an opportunity, especially for those teams that may be on the border, get that extra game because we saw the benefits of the SIAC having the extra games last year. So now the CIAA is in the same position. The only possible negative, if I could add in my comment on that, Dr. Cavil, is unfortunately that they didn't have another conference to play this game against. So, it could potentially knock off, one of our teams has to knock each other off in order to get that spot. So if there's any negative about it, but what could be negative about more football, Dr. Cavil?
That's a good point. I'm not sure if I can answer that correctly, but I think your analysis is spot on. Unlike the SIC that has the matchup in regards to playing another conference, So you have the potential for both teams to win, but you also have the potential for both teams to lose, which doesn't help. But in this case, you have potential. You have not the potential, but you know that one team will win, which is benefit. You know, one team will lose, which will hurt. So, like you said, there's always that pros and cons of what that looks like. The setup, the fact that they'll have the game on Friday at the same stadium, I think it's fascinating. A lot of good things work out that, for the most part, since you're renting it out, you're probably getting a really good deal, if at no cost at all. One thing, do you know anything about that stadium in terms of whether it's turf or grass?
I do not. I would hope that the stadium is turf with the back-to-back games, especially during that time of the year where the if it is a natural surface, it's not going to recover. And if there's anything weather related during that time, that would also be a big negative if it's a natural surface. And let me make sure everybody understands this. I am the biggest fan of a natural playing surface. I prefer my games played on grass, but if my game is played on grass, it needs to be played on a properly maintained grass
We
field.
got
There
to
are some grass fields that
update as
isn't
they're posting
good.
it by
Great,
Desmond and also WSS Ram. They say it's a turf field.
great.
So to your point, yeah, the grass is something that a lot of folks are certainly proponents of, but the cost associated with it, and regardless of the cost, you know, to keep it at a level provides even additional costs. But the turf protects you a little bit. Certainly is going to protect them to make sure it doesn't interfere with the championship game, which was my concern in terms of that. Um, I know I heard some folks talking about maybe it should be on Thursday, but I think probably the next best thing is Friday because lets you get two solid broadcast days. Not a lot going on that time of the year for Friday night football. You do have some playoffs potentially starting off, whether it's high school, regardless. So that's pretty good. Uh, uh, WSSU Ram Nation is in the mix. He's giving us some updates, his thoughts on this 2 years ago. Winston-Salem was 72, Johnson City 8-2, and neither got in. Yeah,
I
they
remember
played
Johnson C.
somebody's going to get that ninth win. Johnson C. Smith certainly would have been in, and then with an eighth win, it's a strong case they would have got in. So great point.
Yeah.
Great point.
Will both bands participate during that time? The third and the fourth place team. That's just another question from an atmosphere
I think in a
perspective.
lot of places it's going to be, you know, how far are those two teams?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
good thing about the CIAA, everybody is pretty centrally located, so it wouldn't be a terribly difficult thing budget wise. It's hard to plan for that, but if it's a short trip, it's not as difficult to make that arrangements in terms of being able to do that. And then in some ways, I think it's going to be in terms of the ADs in the institution. How big are they in terms of the football business of knowing the value of getting the band there to support the team and help them out? So obviously, you would imagine with the North Carolina schools, much easier, realistic for them to be able to get the bands there. Lincoln, which hasn't been good at football, but still, that may
even
be a
e-
little bit
even a
more,
Bowie State or one of the
yeah,
two Virginia schools, it may be a
be a
little
little
bit
bit of
of
a stretch.
trepidation.
Yeah, a little bit of stretch. So something to keep your eyes on. But I think overall, just like the SIC last year, I think the opportunity of what they're trying to provide their student with in terms of the college athletes, as well as the program and the coaches, I think is a very positive thing from that perspective.
Yeah.
So let's take.
Uh,
Go
uh,
ahead.
I was gonna ask, what do you think the money looks like for a game like that, Dr. Cavil? Is that something that could potentially ultimately turn into a revenue generator, or at least for the conference a break even perspective? We know it's great for the teams from a football perspective for the conference, but as far as revenue potential for the for the conference. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. Money is always involved in that. Because they probably put so much in bringing the CIAA there for their championship game, I'm sure they get that field for next to nothing, if exactly what you do in these cases $1. But say they play a little more in it, it doesn't take much ticket sales to start generating revenue associated with that. You would imagine that a lot of the championship teams, they're going to come in, their fans are coming in that Friday. So many of them, depending on how far they come, will probably at least duck their heads out there to see what their game looks like. One of them, there's a high likelihood that the team is coming out of what would have been the former South, which means it's probably going to be North Carolina. Again, short, but the relationship all those schools have and the cross relationships with families, there's a good chance that those fans would go to that game on Friday night.
And with that game, with the top 4 teams being there, as a fan, you may know 2 weeks out that your team is playing that weekend. We just don't know right now if they're going to be playing Friday or Saturday because of how the last week may play out. But
that helps.
May know that, hey, at least I know my team will be playing there because they've quote unquote clinched one of those top 4 spots.
So you might be able to slide in a type of presenting sponsor, but it could help you. Let's say that the title sponsorship for the championship game is there. This may give you more value to say that we're going to give you 2 games as being a presenting sponsor for our championship and then a title sponsor for our additional game. So some things like that can help generating some additional revenue because now you're creating the value proposition for more inventory that helps sales sponsors to come on board. So yes, it's not far-fetched that it's not that hard for that game to generate some money to help support the overall conference goal of generating revenue for the conference members. Let's take our first break and come back on the other side. We'll get back into a little more business talk a little in the second half of the show that I want to take a deep dive in terms of the bowl, some announcements that take place on the television deal. I want to save that for a little later and talk about that. But after this break, I want to get into a little bit of the SWAC Media Day breakdown. We continue with that and talk about some CIAA preseason predicted order finish. Always excited what people are thinking should happen, and then coming back, looking at the season and see what actually happened. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this first break.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Introducing the HBCU Trivia Game. It's more than a board game. It's a journey to the legacy of historically black colleges and universities. Here's how it works. 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up. Start as freshmen and roll the dice to advance. But here's the twist. You can only move forward by answering trivia questions about HBCU. Test your knowledge of notable alumni, key historical events, sports milestones, and fun HBCU facts. Watch out for spaces that can propel you ahead or set you back. And if you get a question wrong, you stay put until your next term. The first to reach graduation wins! The HBCU Trivia Game. Support, educate, entertain! Available now. Let the journey begin.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL on August 29th with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff presented by Toyota, representing the SWAC, Alabama A&M, and representing the MEAC, Howard, Bulldogs, Bison, the Marching Maroon and White, the Showtime Marching Band, the premier FCS matchup in primetime with a kickoff trophy up for grabs. Join us pre-game for band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavill's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Professor Drew. Let's jump back in here and talk about some more updates. In terms of the Walter Payton HBCU preseason award, if you would, for his watch list, HBCU NFL legend, great there. We do have two HBCU stars that start out on the on the watch list, I should say, for the Walter Payton Award. 40 years after the Walter Payton Award established the legacy of one of the greatest players in HBCU football history continues to shape the football championship subdivision. Those two players are one, other than the preseason offensive player of the year to watch in the SWAC, Andrew Body, quarterback, getting a lot of accolades, a lot of expectation as he comes back this season. Body returns as one of the Southwestern Athletic Conference premier quarterbacks after earning Walter Payton's Awards finalist recognition last season. The veteran signal caller enters 2026 as one of the favorites to compete for the prestigious honor. The other one comes out of the MEAC, which is Chance Peterson, North Carolina Central. Peterson represents Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference after emerging as one of the league's most explosive offensive weapons. The redshirt junior wide receiver gives North Carolina Central another national award candidate in the season. A list filled with FCS stars. The 30-player preseason watch list includes returning Walter Payton Award winner Boo Bernard out of Youngstown State, who is attempting to become just the third two-time recipient of the award. Past winners and finalists have gone on to successful NFL careers, include Steve McNair, Tony Romo, Brian Westbrook, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Cooper Kupp. Additional players may be added to the watch list during the season before a national media panel selects the finalists and eventual winner following the regular season, which also reminds me of the Big Ben. Cavil watch list will be interesting to see what that looks like coming into the season. We had some really unique winners over the years, so those award watch lists for the end of the season will start coming out, so it'll be fascinating to look at that too. Drew, what else is on your mind in terms of to keep your eyes on?
How about homecoming season? Can we talk homecoming already, Dr. Cavil, even though we have not kicked off the season?
It's fair game.
All right, yeah, I might upset some people, but one of our independent schools has set a record. How about North Carolina A&T? Made history before they even won or lost a game this season by setting a record with season ticket sales with more than 6,000 season tickets already sold. And you guys said that nobody wants to watch A&T play some of those other teams in the CAA. Well, I got at least 6,000 disputes to you. Season tickets still remain on sale through August 2nd. That matters because those tickets come across with access to to homecoming, better known as Jiho, the greatest homecoming on earth. For fans who do not buy season tickets, the wait will continue. Single game tickets to homecoming will go on sale later. If, let me say that again, Dr. Cavil, if any seats remain. So we'll just leave it at that.
I want to add on to that because I think that was a really good question you said when a lot of folks were talking about watching A&T. Obviously, they named a new football coach last year. A lot of people believe that he's going to be a lot better in the mix. But in this article, it talks a little bit about the marketing push they did that is responsible in some ways, if not in a big way, in terms of partially in regards to those 6,000 tickets. A&T is not just selling those tickets that we talk about, and certainly not just selling those matchups, to your point, Drew. They're selling the moment. It is the program's history. It's the 125th year of Aggie football, and the school has pushed that milestone hard this summer, and it was rewarded with record season ticket announcements that was tied directly to the celebration. We are celebrating record-breaking A&T ticket sales with more than 6,000 sold. The athletic department posted on Facebook, "Thank you, Aggie Nation." They certainly made a statement. The post also pointed to the program's past. Event ticket sales. A&T used a video honoring Bill Hayes' era, one of the strongest runs in school history. The video features several stars from that period, including quarterback and coach, as we know, Connell Maynard. Maynard followed Hayes from Winston-Salem State to North Carolina A&T after the 1987 season. He helped lead the Aggies during a championship era that still carries weight with fans. That connection was not accidental. By highlighting Hayes, Maynard in that era, North Carolina A&T reminded fans what Aggie football has been, and certainly you want to think could be. It also framed the 2020 season as a part of a larger story. What are your thoughts in terms of taking advantage of the historic footprint, particularly for 120 season? I've said this for a period of time that I don't think institutions do enough of that in terms of recognizing and really marketing and driving revenue. We have some schools that do a decent job of saying, hey, bringing back championship teams, if you would. But what are you doing to really market that other than just to celebrate them and honor them, which is good? But you see, you can tie that into ways to generate revenue. And in these days, that's certainly important. Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, one of those institutions who did not do a good job was the institution where I work at, which is Morehouse. We will be beginning our 126th football season this fall. So if we do the math, Dr. Cavil, last year was our 125th
Right.
football season.
That's
And just kind of get a little bit of the backstory after doing the research and realizing, oh crap, and it was fun, and it was oops by the way type thing because we had been playing football as of last year for 126 years, so everybody thought we had missed it. I was like, no, we didn't play in COVID, so this actually becomes our 125th season of football. And when I had that conversation with the not on with the college marketing department, because something on that level, that type of marketing for something like that historic goes beyond the athletic department. And we honestly, we did not take advantage of it, even to the point where Dr. Cavil, we were going back and forth with a special 125th patch that we could not uh finalize the design in a fast enough time to be able to get out and market it. So shout out to A&T for recognizing and actually coming up with a campaign on that versus, in our case, discovering it by accident and trying to scramble and make that into a historic season and everything. Now, I will say this, A&T, it helps if you win some games in your 125th anniversary season, or it just becomes another footnote in history.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I love that. I mean, you could do so many different things. I mean, you can, some of those championship teams have old programs. You can sell like the front cover, have it framed. If you have any of those legends for championship games that could be alive, you could get them to sign it and either raffle those off or sell them depending on what numbers you have. You can put those on jerseys, on shirts or replica jerseys, sell those. So you're absolutely right. You know, a lot of people like nostalgia, like to keep up with it, but you do have to have some foresight. And oftentimes our programs with how we work with our sports information director, while at one time it used to be a stable area, but oftentimes there's turnover. And even at the AD positions, turnover. And so as you turn over folks, it takes them a while just to get all the information and start looking at key things, looking at key dates. And so unless somebody mention it to you, to your point, oftentimes you have to fall into it. And unfortunately, sometimes you can fall in late. So even if you would have seen that last year, to create a campaign would have been a challenge because you need a little time. So there has to be that foresight. So it'd be fascinating if you went back to the A&T and find out, you know, when did they start thinking about, hey, this is going to be 120th year. You know, it could be as much as a year or a year and a half ago they thought about that, which gives them an opportunity to think about, hey, let's see if we can catch up with Connor and May to do a video. Let's see if we can get information in terms of Bill Hayes. You know, what team really speaks to A&T in terms of that status and what that looks like. So, and I'm sure that they're probably doing out the year, they're going to look at multiple teams, including those teams of this celebration era, which will be fascinating. With that being said, let's take our next break, come back on the other side, take a deeper depth at it. And I want to get into some of these predicted order of finish, Drew, and get your thoughts, both out of the CIAA and the SWAC. We talked a little bit about the SWAC already, so we'll probably put a little more focus on the CIAA. We'll do that after this next break.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image.
Ever told yourself, I want to get into real estate but don't know where to start? Here's something just for you. From Friday, July 31st to Sunday, August 2nd, the Learn Real Estate Fast Masterclass is coming to McKenzie Office Park in College Park. You'll learn wholesaling, commercial investing, and how to purchase property with zero money or credit. I can tell you, education and access are everything. This masterclass is designed to give you both. Whether you're brand new or ready to level up, this is where you start making real moves. Enjoy free lunch, free study materials, and receive a certification of completion. So don't wait. Seats are filling fast. Do not sit on the sidelines while others build wealth. Take that first step toward ownership and legacy. Get your tickets now at learnrealestatefast.com or tickpick.com. For more information, call 678-859-3303. Master the market, build your legacy, secure your future today.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Introducing the HBCU Trivia Game. It's more than a board game, it's a journey to the legacy of historically black colleges and universities. Here's how it works. 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up, start as freshmen and roll the dice to advance. But here's the twist. You can only move forward by answering trivia questions about HBCU. Test your knowledge of notable alumni, key historical events, sports milestones, and fun HBCU facts. Watch out for spaces that propel you ahead or set you back. And if you get a question wrong, you stay put until your next turn. The first to reach graduation wins. The HBCU Trivia Game. Support, educate, entertain. Available now. Let the journey begin.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL on August 29th with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff presented by Toyota, representing the SWAC, Alabama A&M, and representing the MEAC, Howard, Bulldogs, Bison, the Marching Maroon and White, the Showtime Marching Band, the premier FCS matchup in primetime with a kickoff trophy up for grabs. Join us pre-game for band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Both are out on assignment, so we have none other than an overworked AD Drew, making sure he puts in a little additional time as I'm overworking him as well. With that being said, let's get into the overwork and look a little bit about the CIAA predicted order of finish. They go the full breakdown with 11-team conference. As you see, those coming in at the bottom was number 11, Lincoln University, Pennsylvania. Number 10, Shaw University, Bluefield State. At number 8, Bowie State. At number 7, Elizabeth City State. At number 6, Winston-Salem. At number 6, Livingstone College. At number 5, Winston-Salem State. At number 4, Virginia State University. At number 3, Fayetteville State. Number 2, Johnson C. Smith. Number 1, Virginia Union University is moving to the top of the list, and they are looking to go back and get their crown. You would see a rematch of the championship game of 225 in this case, which means you would have a 3-4 matchup on Friday, which would feature Fayetteville State, Virginia State, if it plays out this way. Winston-Salem State would certainly be trending in the right direction, but they would be on the outside looking in. Drew, way too early. What are your thoughts in terms of the predicted order of finish? I guess it's not way too early. It's out. It is what it is.
No, it may not be way too early, but I can say it's probably the prediction sure to go wrong because if you look at the numbers say there's a team in the top half, Dr. Cavil,
yes,
who will be underwhelming.
Yes,
and there's a team in the bottom half that will overperform expectations and screw up somebody's season.
So the question I have for you, which is what you probably were going to get to, is which team or two do you see that's going to overperform, and which team or two are you saying will likely underperform?
Well, I don't want to really call out an underperforming team, but I'm gonna tell you the team that I want to watch at the top more than anyone else is Johnson C. Smith.
Yes.
Okay. 2 years ago, they started 8-0. They collapsed at the end. Last year, they were able to get over the hump. So does Johnson C. Smith continue its upward trend? Because when you think about it, when you think of those top 4 teams, Dr. Cavil, those other 3 have consistently been at the top year in and year out, which is why those teams receive the votes that they do. everybody figured Johnson C. Smith was going to get that last year, but it's like it's almost like a Christmas gift out to Cavil. Yeah, you was with mama when she went to the store, and you think she got you a PlayStation, but until you actually open that PlayStation on Christmas, you're not 100% sure that you got it. That's kind of how Johnson C. Smith was last year. They actually got the PlayStation. Now,
Right.
can they master the game? Can they do it for what would be for them a third consecutive year being a relevant program? So that's the team that I want to watch. Now,
I like
on the
that.
other end of the spectrum, what team could possibly muck up? That's with the M, everybody, muck up the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I've got two, Dr. Cavil. How about Elizabeth City?
Ah, interesting.
Very competitive team last year,
They
finished
were.
above 500 in their conference last year for the first time in forever. So that's one team that I want to see. Do they are they the next Johnson C. Smith that comes and goes on that upward trend? And if there's one team that's a little bit of unknown, Dr. Cavil, Winston Salem, brand new head coach, Dr. Cavil, proud program,
Right.
but they've been striving for the last decade to get back to the detail to the games and to the play of the early 20 teams.
Mm-hmm.
So is Winston Salem able to get over the hump and get back there, Dr. Good? So those are the two teams that I'm really interesting to see if they're able to get it. But which team do they knock off if they are able? Either one of those two are able to get into that top four, Doctor Ville. That's the question.
Good stuff. Good analysis. Let's do the same thing for the SWAC. And we can just kind of run through this so we don't have to take a deep dive because I think we discussed quite a bit about this. But certainly great event in terms of what took place. A lot of good information, a lot of people out there. Always good to see everybody getting excited and kicking things off. A lot of information to feed to the fan base as we could talk about red meat, if you would. But predict the order of finish pretty much is like what a lot of people thought going into it in terms of the East. You see Mississippi Valley at 29 points. They did not get the first place vote, as we were wondering they would this year. Alabama A&M actually got one first place vote, even though they are predicted to order of finish in the East is number 5. 6 points. FAMU Rattlers, fourth at 70. But just below Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, third at 71. Coach Woody was a lot more excited than I've seen him in the past. He seems to be getting comfortable to the coaching role. Obviously, with the way things ended last year, he had a lot more reason to be excited. But if I was team in the East, I'd be a little concerned just about how he has a little pep in his step, if you would, in terms of what that looks like. So, very fascinated there. And then, if you would, we have at number 2 Jackson State, and then number 1 Alabama State in terms of what that looks like. So, go ahead, give me your thoughts on that.
In the East, Dr. Cavil, preseason player of the year, Andrew Body on the Alabama State Hornets. It's really one thing when it comes to, and I'm gonna lump all three of these teams together because I think these are the three teams to watch, Dr. Cavil. Alabama State, Jackson State, and Alabama A&M. Yes, the Bulldogs. I think they're going to be the team to watch. Why do I say those are the teams to watch, Dr. Cavil?
Yes.
They are a returning coach quarterback combo in this Eastern Division. Everybody forgets about Quad Brown. Yes, We know he's been playing forever. That they even made the joke about it in the BX Swag in the Cricket BX Swag Challenge kickoff presented by Toyota press conference, Dr. Cavil, that Ted White said it's about his 8th season of eligibility. But I think that's significant that he pointed that out because they are one of those teams that has its returning coach and quarterback coming to the same team. Florida A&M has a coach quarterback combo that has been together before, but this is the first time they have been in Tallahassee together. So that's going to be another one. So kind of going through the same thing that I went through, exercise I went through with the CIAA. Alabama A&M is the team that I think we need to watch from the bottom half of this that could play havoc on those top teams. Can any of these teams keep their quarterback healthy? Because that's going to be the thing. Alabama State has the advantage because they play Jackson State and Florida A&M in Montgomery.
Absolutely. Excellent points made. And then when you get into that, let's bring up the Western Division so we can talk about that. When you talk about the West, Pine Bluff at the bottom there with 32 points. Southern, they did get one first place vote. So interesting to be that low, similar with kind of like we've seen with Alabama A&M.
Probably Willie Scott voted for himself.
They won't allow you to vote for yourself, so it wasn't them. So it's somebody that's saying, hey, first-year coaches of late have found a way to get it done. So we'll see. At number and that 4th spot would be Texas Southern University. They received a first-place vote. Somebody thinks highly of them, 79. And then you have Alcorn State Braves in the 3rd position with 1 first-place vote, 90 points. Then Grambling State with 2 first-place votes, 93 points. And Prairie View A&M with 19 first-place votes, 130 points. So obviously a lot of people see them at the top, but there are some folks that see a little different things shake up in the West, which has been the Wild Wild West. But people are pretty comfortable with Prairie View. But fascinating to see the spread of folks are not in terms of getting first-place votes or certainly where they'll fit beneath that. It's kind of cluttered there. So fascinating to see about the West Division. Anything stands out to you with the West Division?
Let's start off with the shocker, Dr. Cavil.
Mm-hmm.
Despite having a new coach, despite having an NFL coach, people do not think they're going to see the Greatest Show on Turf Part 2 down in Louisiana with the Southern Jaguars. So what impact does Marshall Faulk have? Yeah. That's number one. The Texas Southern, Dr. Cavil. I want to be bullish on Texas Southern, Dr. Cavil. I really do. But I can't, Dr. Cavil, because of the stadium situation and the uncertainty about where you're going to play these games at and everything else. And that has to weigh mentally on not only the coaching staff, Dr. Cavil, but the players. Will mommy and daddy travel to this part of Houston or that part of Houston? Will my classmates at the institution travel across town to support me because the game may be 10, 15 miles from campus instead of at the Dynamo Stadium where you guys have traditionally played your home games? So because of that uncertainty, I can't be bullish on Texas Southern. So right now, I have to move Southern ahead of Texas Southern. Alcorn State, 5 in a row to finish off the conference season, Dr. Cavil. Mm-hmm. Should you be bullish on them? Grambling, everybody wants Grambling to be good. The question is, can Grambling be good again, Dr. Cavil? We see Grambling in the top 3 every year, but they have been underwhelming for the last half decade or so, Dr. Cavil. It's just that simple.
It is the question of the day. You can't hide from that. It's the question of the day.
Question of the day.
Can they be that good?
Yeah, and Mickey Joseph is a character now. Don't get me wrong, folks. Mickey Joseph
Oh yeah,
is a
he's
character.
gonna work at it. That ain't gonna be why he's not good, because he's not entertaining. He knows where he is and how to fit in terms of just coaching. But you're right, that's the question.
Yeah.
And the challenge you have with Grambling, to me, kind of reminds me of the days when Prairie View was really, really good, but just not quite good enough during a decade where they were fighting between Grambling State and Southern.
Right.
They would finish second
every year, it seemed like,
to one of those two teams for over a decade, except for the once or twice when they got out of the division and won in 2009. People see just the one championship there, but for that whole decade after that, they were in the mix to it. And so Grambling may be getting that fold, and if Prairie View continues to do what they do, could be the point that it's not that Grambling hadn't gotten better, but unfortunately just hadn't got better enough to get past.
Let's talk about Prairie View
next week, where we get a chance to get into maybe a little bit where we start or further down before things start to end, where we get to break down some schedules.
Yeah.
With that, and get to see each other's thoughts in terms of whose schedule lines up best that may match or not match up the prediction preseason polls.
All right. Let's talk about Prairie View though at the top, Dr. Cavil.
Mm-hmm.
A live case study with the Prairie View Panthers this year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, you brought in T-Jack. T-Jack was able to bring a lot of key players over from Valdosta State, in addition to getting some other transfers in. A lot of those players were one-year rentals, though, Dr. Cavil, and results were championship results. Cool. Now, can he catch lightning in the bottle again and do that again, or is there a player who may have had that year to develop that's able to step up? So Prairie View is going to be interesting. Here's the question I have for you, Dr. Cavil, when it comes to both the east side and the west side, Dr. Cavil. Will we go back to the division a division champion who goes to the conference undefeated, Dr. Cavil?
Yes.
And you say yes. Will the championship game continue to be hosted by the eastern side? Because we still, even though we got our first champion from the west, we still have not had a championship game hosted by a West institution yet.
I can't answer that now because I really like to look at the schedule. I want to see where the homes are. I like a lot what Prairie does in terms of Coach Jackson. I think he's ready. In comparison with the other teams, I really like Prairie View's schedule. They have Southern coming to town. They have Alcorn coming to town. They have Texas Southern coming to town. So 3 of your division foes you host at home. And if anything, you got to imagine that T-Jack is going to get his team to focus that when they're at Prairie View, they want to win all the time, but the Prairie View wants to be a place where they protect the house type of thing. And if you get that and you protect the house against those opponents, you should be pretty good shape to take care of business in the division. They do have some tough road games. They got Alabama State, which is going to be, in the business of making it work. And so that's going to be fascinating in terms of what that looks like. You have the neutral site game with Grambling. So that is what it is. Prairie View does sell out more tickets, so they tend to have a bigger fan base in general. But such a large stadium, even though they fill it up, because there's so many fans there that are beyond Prairie View or Grambling, can you get things rocking and get a little bit of home feeling? And that is going to be fascinating what that looks like. But outside of that, the schedule is in their favor. But again, I need to look at it for the other teams. What does that mean for Southern? Southern, for example, has a hard schedule to me in terms of they have so many more rivalry games they get, and then other teams that look at them as rival that they may not. But they have Southern. They have Jackson State at home, but they got to go to Alcorn, I believe it is. But I look closer. They got Texas Southern on the road. Obviously, got Prairie View on the road. That's tough when you start thinking about some teams like that of what you got to make up, and then you got the big game at the end of the year with the Bayou Classic. So even though Southern could be better, there's a schedule play out in their favor.
Correct.
What does that look like? And when you get into home field advantage, I don't think you're going to see what we saw in the past where teams win the conference in terms of going undefeated. I think it's more likely that you're going to see one, even in some cases, 2 losses.
Yeah.
So how does it work on the other side? I think what does favor the West, though, Drew, to put a pin on that before we take our last break, is I think the East is going to be even deeper. And I think you're going to feel some noise from FAMU, which probably you expect, right? Even though that. Right. So that makes it more dangerous in terms of what they do. I think you're going to find some from Bethune-Cookman. I think Alabama A&M is going to be a much more competitive, tougher team in terms of the mix. Alabama State, you obviously going to be there, and Jackson State going to be there. That means in some combination, can you go through undefeated? I don't think so. And that doesn't even count if you play some teams in the West on your schedule, particularly having to be some of the good teams. So that's the challenge that I'm looking for before I really get in. How realistic is it a chance for a team in the West? In this case, I would like it to be Prairie View, obviously, the host. But with that being said, let's take our last.
Can I clear one thing up?
Sure.
Somebody, I think it was Tim Smith. If we can put that comment up, yes, it was Tim Smith. You can put that up for me, G Boom. When I made the comment about the West never hosting a SWAC championship game, Tim Smith mentioned in the comments that Alcorn hosted the SWAC championship game. Tim, my brother, that was pre-expansion. Alcorn was in the East when they hosted it 18 and 19. How soon we forget, Dr. Cavil. Bold prediction, Dr. Cavil. One team with one division will be won with a 6-2 record. The other division will be won with a 5-3 record. I'm not saying East or West on which one, but I think there is that much parity, potential parity this year in the SWAC that I'm going to make that bold prediction now.
Yeah, I'm not mad at you making that prediction. I can feel that very accurate. And great point when you talk about Tim Smith, how quickly to forget, yes, Alcorn did host when they were the first one to host.
Correct.
As they took advantage of when the championship game moved from a neutral site to a home location. But at that time, pre-expansion, they were in the Eastern Division. So no current member of the Western Division has hosted the game as a Western Division home game. With that being said, we'll take our last break, come back on the other side. And I want to get into the extension talk in terms of the television and get a little framework of how timely that may be based on other things outside of the SWAC that we may not consider. Talk about what that looks like. Stick with us. We'll be right back out the break. We're going to talk a little bit more about the business side of things.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural taste, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now. From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Attention football fans. The Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff presented by Toyota is back in Atlanta on August 29th. Representing the SWAC, Alabama A&M, and representing the MEAC, Howard. Join us at Center Park Stadium for a full day of tailgating, football, and bands.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So we started getting those drip drops of news throughout the June, July piece as we started getting prepared to get to what we were expecting was SWAC Media Day, Football Media Day, as we like to call it. And part of that was the ESPN games that were released on television, right? You also got the drip in terms of the HBCU Go media games released. And then you got the drip from the SWAC TV games released. And we've heard great numbers associated with ESPN in terms of the cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff presented by Toyota now moving forward with that new deal that was trickled out and released. We also heard about Toyota with the Band of the Year and the numbers it did in celebrating the championship. And then we got the Cricket Celebration Bowl presented by Toyota and the numbers that it was doing. We got the numbers with SWAC TV. And if you can go back and look at the interview from BCSN and what we were able to do on Media Day early in the day, we got the total numbers from SWAC TV and what they did in their first year. Tremendous numbers. So it made sense when you got the big announcement today in regards to, yesterday, release by ESPN Press Room, where they talked about ESPN and the Southwestern Athletic Conference announced multi-year media rights agreements through 2031 and 32. And that it was a composite that matched the partnership in terms of the extension for the, again, cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff presented by Toyota, as well as the Cricket Celebration Bowl presented by Toyota, matching that and extending it to 32. Here and there will be some announcements, drip, about some of those teams that will play and participate in the challenge over the next couple of years. But particular to the media rights was fascinating were some of the things that they highlighted. Was the 10-game regular season football games across ESPN Network and ESPN Plus, which is unique because it still allows you to have the ability to do games with SWAC TV, increase and fold that, but you still have the bright lights associated with the national and international, in some cases, platform of ESPN, with your games there, football games particularly. The SWAC football championship game. Not only have we seen it on ESPN2, but they have it that there's potential where it could be on ABC and ESPN. So depending on the matchups, the brand awareness, how that fits, that is the possibility. We hadn't seen that before, that we may not have caught in that. The SWAC men's basketball tournament on a linear ESPN network. And it's the entire tournament, not just the championship game. So some of that was folded back in regards to being on SWAC TV about going back to ESPN. It includes, obviously, the women's tournament will also be on linear, which is significant. And all other rounds of both basketball tournament on ESPN digital platforms, as we alluded to. 4 regular season men's basketball games on ESPN Network or ESPN Plus. We've seen that before, but to maintain that was pretty significant as well. The agreement continues a relationship between ESPN and the SWAC that dates back to the launch of ESPNU 2005. I think that's important from a standpoint that we always hear from a business term, early adopters. The SWAC was an early adopter partnership with ESPNU, which has value, and the fact that they are trusted as being one of those initial conferences did that, I think, makes a statement. ESPN emphasizes the SWAC competitive programs, passionate fan base, and prominent position with ESPN athletics. So those are some of the notes. We talked about how this extends out again with the challenge as well as the Celebration Bowl. It's good. It's a 6-year agreement that ensures this continuation with the partnership. One of the things that I wanted to bring up that's important, and I don't want to long-wind this too much, but I think it's important for us to understand timing and place. And I don't want to get too far into CFP because we do HBCU sports here. But to understand this, you do have to understand the bigger landscape. The athletics talks about with the CFP expansion still murky, college football bowl system braces for another year of limbo. This was written back in November 13th of 2025 when they first kicked the can down the road. A decision will not be made for the CFP until it has to be made by December. Currently, the field is 12. We've heard the talk about 16. Seemed like people were pretty resident and didn't have a lot of problems with going to 16. Some formats in terms of automatic bids was a huge talk. Then all of a sudden, you got this talk of 24. I think people recognize that a lot of this has to do with the 2 behemoths, which I call the super conferences of the Big Ten.
The autonomous 2.
Yep. Well, that's what the NCAA calls them. Actually, they still call them the autonomous 4. But to your point, that's why I call them. No, you're right. That's why I call them the Super 2, right? Instead of the Power 4, I call them the Super 2, right? Because they drive the ship. And when I say they drive the ship, they really have it in the contract that they have to essentially agree to make this changes. The other folks can provide input, but they have to be on board. And I named the Big Ten, but I didn't name the other one, which is the SEC. For those that may not realize that the Big Ten is significantly packaged with Fox. While you probably are very reticent and aware that the SEC, at least in our footprint, that they are lockstep with ESPN/ABC Walt Disney, correct? Now, the Big Ten does have a package that is multi-dimensional in terms of NBC, in terms of what that looks like, in terms of a partner there, along with CBS to some degree, right? But the rights to the network and who functionally allowed the extension with CBS and NBC was Fox Space. Well, if you realize the CFP is all on ESPN. So from what we've heard out there, essentially ESPN could see and be in framework of what they signed a contract to go to 16. But they don't have interest for it going to 24. But you can see why Fox would have interest in going to 24, because ESPN doesn't want to go past 16. That means there's a way for Fox to get into the CFP playoff that goes to 24. I say all that because this article allows folks to realize that the uncertainty surrounding the college football playoffs that I just spoke about, structure for 2026 and beyond, has filtered down to the bowl games outside of the playoffs. I'll say that again, the bowl games outside of the playoffs. Those bowl games, that's such as the Texas Bowl that's played in Houston, where I'm from, the Las Vegas Bowl, obviously played in Las Vegas,
and all that stuff.
Yeah, all those bowls that are second-tier bowls, but still play some financial payout. In terms of them to get their sponsors, all those bowls end in 2026, essentially. They don't want to extend their contracts until they understand what is the playoff going to do, because the expanded playoff could affect these bowl games in terms of the teams they can get. And it affects their ability to negotiate with title sponsors and contract frameworks. So the bowls contractually ties to specific conferences which inform which team receives invitation to each game, expires after the season. Usually, new deals are completed the last year of at least a year, if not 18 months ahead of the final contract year. But with CFP expansion talks approaching at December 1st deadline to make changes for 2026, bowl executives have 1 year or their upcoming matchups and another year ahead. Quote, you want to make sure you're in touch with all the conferences about what's going on and what's the future look like, end quote, said Derek Fox, executive director of the San Antonio-based Alamo Bowl, to give you another example. Quote, the pregnant pause is a good analogy because the CFP has to make a decision first. So we wait until that decision is made, and then I think people will be ready to go certainly thereafter, end quote, in a lot of ways based on what that decision is. Why do I say that all up? The brilliance of the commissioners of the MEAC and SWAC understanding the time and place that we don't necessarily think about or give credit about getting this extension now while the money is there, and not understanding what that money will look like when all these other contracts end, I think was brilliant in a lot of ways, and important that we have this footprint of what takes place. So I kind of wanted to share that in the show on a business note before we get into enjoying what we do with the football season that we talked about earlier, who to watch to keep your eyes on. But the commissioners being able, particularly for the SWAC, signing this off, and it looks like some type of agreement will likely be announced and made next Tuesday for the MEAC, I think was really significant in terms of this current environment to get the money and tie everything up before we understand what could potentially take place with the CFP moving forward. Drew, know that was a lot. Any comments that you want to add before we call it a show?
There's a lot to to digest there, Dr. Cavil, because you gave a lot of great points, and I was sitting there thinking while you were doing it, and I should have been making notes because I thought you were getting ready to be done, and then you make another point there, Dr. Cavil, that I got to remember that. Let me do a couple of things when I say this. First of all, Dr. Cavil, and I've got to get this out the way. No, you will not know the numbers, everybody. Everybody keeps saying we want to know what the numbers were on that. Nobody releases those numbers, Dr. Cavil. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I've always told everybody. The
Yeah.
way those numbers get out that some people talk about, no conference will you ever see from their website or a direct framework that talks about the numbers. They're confidential numbers that they put in their portfolio. And the reason they do that because as we talk about it, negotiate. And when you're in the art of negotiation, you want to keep everything close to the vest and you don't want everybody to know your numbers because they can use that against you.
Correct. Now, the only way that
and so when you see some numbers that triple out, those are reported numbers where you have private news people that do investigation and have relationships, and they may get some bits and pieces. So they're around the numbers, but they're not the exact numbers because they are not given.
Right. And with a lot of state institutions, also because of Freedom of Information Act, you're able to pull certain data and extrapolate certain numbers out of that. And then you take that times, okay, if X institution is getting this, if I multiply this times 12, the conference is getting about this amount due to the Freedom of Information
And if
Act.
you read those articles carefully, they will always say it's reported that it is likely or it is around.
Yeah.
You'll hear
X
things
dollar.
like that.
Yeah. So I just want everybody, and take that back to all your Facebook, Twitter, IG friends who want to make those comments. No, you will not know what the numbers are. Number one. Number two, just a side note, I believe
it ain't about what you deserve, it's about what you can get. I just told you nobody gets those numbers. Why are you going to ask your conference people to give you numbers that make them now less marketable and being able to take advantage from when you don't even ask for that from the SEC? You don't ask that from the Big Ten. They're not going to give you those numbers. This is like private businesses. You don't ask for those numbers. You get dividend reports, but you don't get those numbers even from corporations. You're asking us to do something that the entire country in a capitalistic concept does not do.
Exactly.
Why do you want us to be at a disadvantage when everybody else is not?
Exactly. That's just like asking somebody what their salary is. My salary is my salary. My salary is enough for me to pay my bills. That's all you need to know. I'm sorry. Let me move off of this because I did not really want to go off on that tangent, Dr. Cavil. Just a side note.
That's pretty good. When I start saying that to somebody, say, "All right, yeah, tell me what your salary is."
You talked about the relationship between ESPN and the SWAC. At that point in time, the MEAC SWAC Challenge was the first football game broadcast on ESPNU. Everybody just want to give everybody that history. Back in 2005 when ESPNU began. Now, the one thing that I found significant with this, Dr. Cavil, though, with this release, the number of games that ESPN and the SWAC will be doing as far as football games. And if we notice, and a lot of people may not realize this, there's a reduction in the number of games that are going to ESPN platforms. There's also been a reduction in the number of games going to the HBCU Go platform. One may think that, okay, this may not be a good situation. I'm going to counter that and say this is proof of the pudding of how good SWAC TV is doing. Why do I say this, Dr. Cavil? The only reason ESPN, HBCU Go buy these games from these conferences, and in our case, the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Next week we can talk about the MEAC possibly. Is because I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars for the right to your game. The only way that this makes business sense is if I can sell X plus Y and add revenue for that game or that package of games that I bought from you, Dr. Cavil. So that to me is showing the strength of SWAC TV, because SWAC TV is in a position now that they believe that they are going to get that number plus more than what ESPN is willing to pay them, and that HBCU going to be able to pay them from selling their own ad inventory, which you saw Dr. McClellan announced maybe a little bit over a month ago with the partnership that they have with the venture capitalists to help them with their marketing sales. So that is showing me the confidence that not only Dr. McClellan has, but these presidents and athletic directors have, and them understanding the value and the power that they have with their platform, i.e., SWAC TV. They are taking a bold stance and saying we will make more money controlling more of our inventory than we have in our old traditional model, where we give a bulk of our games away to ESPN, HBCU Go, and then we're just responsible with broadcasting the rest. No, the SWAC is keeping with that formula. The SWAC is going to keep a lot of their feature matchups, because ESPN can only get one game a week based on the averages, because they only get 10 games a year, so they can average only one game a week.
That's right.
HBCU Go, based on it, can only get one game a week. So most weeks you're gonna have 4 games left over that you can sell, Dr. Cavil.
That's right.
Most of these matchups, even the number 3 matchup in our conference, 9 times out of 10 is a damn good matchup, Dr. Cavil. What happens when Southern Texas Southern is the 3rd game of the week? That's a pretty good matchup. What happens when Alabama State is the 3rd game of the week, or Jackson State or FAMU is in your number 3 slot? I'll take my chances with those, Dr. Cavil, when I go in front of the ad agency and the upfronts and try to sell my inventory, Dr. Cavil. I just want people, we talk about the business side. Let's talk about the business side and where the SWAC thinks they are, and the power that they are leveraging to extrapolate potentially more money to go back to our institutions via media rights.
And those numbers continue to go up. I think Charles talked about they distributed some $25 million, which is far the highest of the FCS level.
Yes.
And it is higher than some
G5,
the lower G6 conferences.
Yeah.
That in itself tells you something significant about the work that is going on with the SWAC.
One other point, and then we can get out of here unless you have something else. With the CFP and everything going on around the CFP right now, the Southwestern Athletic Conference and the Celebration Bowl are the only bowl game out there and only conference out there with a multi-year agreement. You know what that means, Dr. Cavil? That means stability.
Yep.
That means I can go and start doing my budget 2, 3, 4 years out and start looking at things as far as some of those capital expenses that you have to deal with, because your year to year is your operation is going to be your operation. But when it comes to the planning with your capital stuff, you have to go 2, 3, 4, even 5 years out with some of those things. Same thing as far as your scheduling. All right, I know I have the opportunity to play in the Celebration Bowl. Think we're gonna have a good team, maybe I don't need to take a money game this year, Dr. Cavil. Maybe I can schedule more FCS opponents this year because I can forecast my revenue better because we know this game is out there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Even if I don't make it to the game, my institution does not make it to the game, we know we're going to get the windfall because the conference is still going to send me a minimum check of XYZ because we are a participant in the Celebration Bowl, in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. We know we're going to get that money in as a conference. So those money that I can forecast down the line for a couple of years as we go through and do all these things, Dr. Cavil.
Good stuff. I agree. Let's shut it down. We'll be back with you next week as we'll be on the move and try to continue to give you updates for the HBCU sports culture. Uniquely, we like to give you some of the business around HBCU sports as well.
And Dr. Cavil, and I'll be seeing Dr. Cavil for the 4th consecutive day tomorrow. So I don't think.
Yeah, no doubt.
Dr. Cavil still hanging out in Atlanta.
Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavillas, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavillas Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I want to make sure that we pray and extend for traveling grace for so many people moving around this particular time of the year, for family reunions, church revivals, as well as HBCU Media Days. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, AD Drew, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time and 7 o'clock, as we know, on the East Coast. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, at Thread, Facebook, and Instagram, DrKenyttCavil, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. AD?
Course.
Lecture.
Dismiss.